Some men chase celebration like oxygen. They live for the applause, the nods, the spotlight that tells them they finally matter. But there's another kind of man, the one who leaves right when everyone starts to love him. He's the one who disappears after the party, who vanishes the moment the world begins to chant his name. Not out of arrogance, but out of instinct, because he knows that celebration is just another form of control. The more they celebrate you, the more they expect to own you. And a Sigma was never built to be owned. He doesn't crave celebration, he outgrows it. Every compliment feels like a leash. Every "we love you" sounds like a trap. So he leaves not because he's ungrateful, but because he refuses to trade his freedom for applause. The moment they start clapping, he's already halfway out the door. The Sigma doesn't stay where he's celebrated because he understands the fine print behind praise. It's rarely about genuine respect. Most people celebrate you for as long as your existence benefits theirs. The moment your independence threatens their comfort, celebration turns to resentment. He's seen it too many times. The same mouths that cheer for him one day whisper about him the next. To him, celebration feels like surveillance. It's the world's way of saying, stay right here, keep doing what we like, don't change. But the Sigma's very nature is change. He evolves, detaches, and rebuilds elsewhere. Staying would mean decay. He would rather be misunderstood in silence than worshipped in a cage. The crowd loves you until your growth makes them irrelevant. 1. He understands that celebration is the first step toward control. The Sigma knows that every form of admiration comes with hidden expectations. When people celebrate you, they start building invisible fences around you, how you should talk, act, think, and move. The applause isn't always appreciation. It's often an unspoken demand. Stay who you are when we liked you. He's allergic to that kind of containment. He's seen how society traps men with flattery. One moment they praise your strength, the next they expect you to use it only when it suits them. The Sigma doesn't play along. He sees through the praise because he's learned that control rarely begins with commands, it begins with compliments. That's why he never lets people's celebration become his identity. He accepts appreciation, but he never absorbs it. The moment he feels it trying to anchor him, he cuts the rope. Because the man who needs celebration to feel real eventually becomes a puppet dancing for applause, dying inside every time the claps fade. Control never starts with chains, it starts with cheers. 2. He knows that praise is a disguise for expectation. Most men mistake celebration for connection. They think the people cheering for them are allies. But the Sigma knows better. Behind every "you're amazing" is often an unspoken "don't change." The praise isn't about him, it's about preserving the version of him that benefits others. He's learned that praise has conditions. As long as he stays predictable, people love him. The moment he evolves beyond what they understand, they start calling him distant, arrogant, or different. The same people who once admired his individuality now accuse him of betrayal because he stopped performing for their narrative. That's why he moves on. Not because he's dismissive, but because he's realistic. He doesn't chase consistency in other people's perception, he chases growth in his own truth. They don't praise who you are, they praise the version of you that serves them. 3. He outgrows environments that mistake comfort for loyalty. Celebration often comes with comfort, and comfort is the quiet killer of a Sigma. The crowd wants him to stay, to repeat his greatness in a loop, to freeze time at the moment they found him inspiring. But the Sigma's evolution is violent. He burns through phases like a storm through dry wood. He doesn't stay loyal to comfort, he stays loyal to purpose. And once he's outgrown an environment, he knows staying will only rot what he's built. People confuse his departure for betrayal, but in truth it's self-preservation. He understands that staying too long in one place mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is how kings become relics. He'd rather leave a legacy than live as his own ghost. Comfort is where greatness goes to die. 4. He doesn't confuse celebration with respect. Applause feels good, but it's cheap. Respect, on the other hand, is earned in silence. The Sigma knows the difference. He doesn't mistake noise for admiration or flattery for reverence. The louder people cheer, the more he listens for the quiet. Because real respect doesn't need a stage, it needs consistency. He's seen people worship leaders in public and tear them down in private. The Sigma doesn't chase either. He'd rather walk through a storm alone than be surrounded by people who only love him when it's convenient. When people celebrate him, he doesn't soak it in. He studies it. He watches who's sincere, who's opportunistic, and who's waiting for the moment he stumbles. Once he knows the room, he vanishes. Because real kings don't need recognition, they just need results. The crowd will love you until loving you costs them something. 5. He realized that being needed is just another form of being owned. People love to need someone strong. They romanticize dependence, call it loyalty, and then use it to chain you. The Sigma doesn't fall for it. He doesn't want to be the pillar that holds everyone else up, because he knows pillars always crack first. The crowd that once celebrated him will drain him next. They'll disguise their dependence as appreciation, but beneath it is the demand to be their savior. The Sigma refuses. He walks away before their needs start feeding on his energy. He's not cold, he's aware. He understands that the man who becomes indispensable eventually becomes disposable once he stops serving their comfort. That's why he chooses detachment over devotion. He'd rather be misunderstood for leaving than be destroyed for staying. If they need you to survive, they'll blame you when they fall. 6. He's seen how praise turns to envy the moment he stops playing along. At first, the world celebrates your uniqueness. Then it resents it. The Sigma has lived this cycle too many times to be fooled by it again. When he's rising, they cheer. When he rises too high, they turn. The same voices that once praised him start whispering that he's changed. But he hasn't changed. He's just stopped performing humility for their comfort. He's seen it in workplaces, friendships, and even relationships. People love you until your independence exposes their dependence. When he senses that shift, he doesn't argue, doesn't explain, he just leaves. Because he knows that staying to defend yourself in front of the insecure is how power leaks out. Their celebration was never about you, it was about keeping you small. 7. He doesn't trust a crowd that needs heroes. The Sigma never believed in crowds. He knows that most people don't want leaders, they want symbols. They need someone to project their fantasies onto, someone to praise so they don't have to grow. But the moment the symbol stops serving their illusion, they crucify it. He's not interested in being that man. He refuses to be the hero of someone else's story. The moment he feels people placing him on a pedestal, he steps down. Because he knows the same hands that lift you up will be the first to throw stones when you fall. To him, admiration feels like a setup. He doesn't crave worship, he craves truth. And truth rarely survives in a room full of worshipers. The crowd doesn't love you, they love what you do for their fantasy. 8. He knows that staying loved too long makes you soft. The Sigma has a brutal kind of self-awareness. He knows that prolonged comfort weakens him. Every time the world claps for him, he feels a part of his hunger dull. That's why he leaves, because hunger is his fuel. He doesn't hate being appreciated, but he refuses to be domesticated by it. When people start to expect him, rely on him, celebrate him, he knows he's become predictable. And predictability is death for men who thrive on growth. So he burns the bridges himself, forcing discomfort, forcing evolution. Because nothing new grows in rooms that always love you. Too much love turns wolves into pets. 9. He understands that every celebration comes with a script. When people celebrate you, they start writing your story for you. They decide what kind of man you are, what you represent, and what you should never do. And if you step outside that narrative, they turn on you. The Sigma rejects all scripts. He doesn't let anyone define him, not even admirers. The moment celebration turns into expectation, he's gone. Because he's not interested in playing a character to keep the audience happy. He knows that freedom means being misunderstood, and he's fine with that. He'd rather be the villain in someone's story than the prisoner of their applause. They don't celebrate you, they celebrate the version of you they think they own. 10. He leaves because he values peace over praise. At his core, the Sigma just wants peace, not luxury, not validation, just quiet. And quiet rarely exists where people celebrate you, because celebration brings noise expectations, demands, projections, attention. The Sigma knows that peace and praise cannot coexist. The moment people start loving him loudly, he starts dying quietly. That's why he walks away. Not because he's ungrateful, but because he's protective of his inner world. He understands that silence is his sanctuary. Praise can never buy what peace provides. He doesn't crave applause, he craves quiet. On a final note, the Sigma never stays where he's celebrated because he understands the cost of staying too long in someone else's spotlight. Celebration is just a prettier form of captivity. The world calls it success. He calls it suffocation. He walks away not because he doesn't value love, but because he values truth more. He's not running from people, he's running from the version of himself that would have to exist to keep them happy. He'd rather be alone and free than adored and caged. Because the Sigma knows something most men never learn. The moment they start celebrating you, they start defining you, and the man who lets others define him has already surrendered his crown.